It could be a lonely job. This was him during COVID.
Ci siamo trovati.
We were caught off guard, he said, by an unexpected turbulence. He could well have been talking about the impact he had on the Catholic Church worldwide when he became pontiff. 2013, the white smoke rises for the newly elected Francis, a pope who brought the promise of reform in his singular attempt to drag the Church into the 21st century. Thank you so much, he said. Please pray for me. Pope number 266, elected to the role when the previous pontiff, Benedict, suddenly resigned. The first time that had happened in 600 years. Francis was 76 years old, from Argentina, considered an outside chance, surprising frontrunners like Australia's George Pell.
He'll be a formidable pope.
The first Jesuit pope, the first from Latin America, from the Southern Hemisphere, a surprise pick and package.
Francis was outside the box in that way, and that was destabilizing for a lot of people. He was a disruptor, very much so.
From his first appearance, he rejected the flashy papal furs and outfits, stayed in plain white, refused the solid gold ring, took a silver one with gold plating. He took the bus home that night, not the papal car. In fact, he refused expensive cars altogether. This was his preference, a Ford Focus.
Fa male.
A priest with the latest models, he said, it's just not right.
Con la macchina ultimo modello, ma no si può.
He named himself after St. Francis of Assisi, patron saint of the poor, and he led by example. No papal palace, took a flat nearby, loved public transport, cooked his own meals, got coffee from a coin-operated machine in Italy. He was born Jorge Mario Bergoglio, 1936. The son of Italian migrants, was a bouncer and cleaner, a chemistry student whose biggest reaction was to religion. He pivoted to the priesthood. I had my own plans, he said. But one day I went into the church and God was waiting for me. Ordained age 32, and after a 32-year career, was made a cardinal. He was long criticised at home for not standing up to Argentina's former military dictatorship. But as Pope, he made a habit of holding governments to account. Here, preaching to the UN on poverty, describing capitalism as the cult of money. And here, denouncing Russia over Ukraine. In the name of God, he said, stop this massacre. He apologised too for Christian support of colonisation. He was an activist pope. He championed the cause of refugees, was a climate change warrior. He brought more women into church roles, tried to clear out corruption from the Vatican Bank.
Pope Francis had steel down the middle of him, and nobody should ever doubt his inner strength.
And one of his biggest campaigns against clerical sex abuse, acknowledging church responsibility, apologising.
Faccio un sentito appello.
Though not going much further.
It's never possible to say he did everything, every single thing that he could have done. But my judgment would be he was relentless, he was persistent.
He left the door open on LGBT issues, raising hopes with his famous comment, "Who am I to judge?" He allowed gay men to become priests in Italy and priests to bless same-sex couples. But on abortion, contraception, divorce, women priests, progressives thought he was on X. But in recent times, increasing posts about his battles with health. He's long suffered respiratory problems, had pleurisy in his youth and a part of his lung removed. In July last year, a reporter asks, "How are you?"
No, per il momento no, davvero.
"Still alive," he responds. But it was difficult. 2020, chronic sciatica nerve pain. 2021, diverticulosis, abdominal surgery. 2022, chronic knee pain, first used a wheelchair. 23, bronchitis, more abdominal surgery. 2024, a fall, bruising, more flu. And February 14, admitted for double pneumonia, a complex polymicrobial infection. But even in death, His influence will be enormous. 80% of the cardinals who will vote for a new pope were chosen by Francis. And for the first time in history, a majority of them are from outside Europe, Africa, Asia, and left-field candidates, like Australia's new cardinal, Ukrainian Bishop Mykola Bitchok, replacing George Pell. He's the youngest in the world, just 44.
This conclave will be a referendum on the last 12 years, the leadership of Pope Francis.
Stacking the numbers, he was an activist even in death, perhaps to make sure his legacy lives. Chris Reason, 7 News.
So just hours after an appearance during the holiest weekend on the Christian calendar, the Catholic world is in mourning. Chris Reason joins us now at the desk. Chris, the Pope has died at age 88.
Guys, this comes as a shock, but we knew that it was coming. This is news that's going to send 1.2 billion Catholics worldwide, and indeed many people watching and following this man because he was loved and adored by so many around the world. There will be mourning globally tonight about this extraordinary religious leader. It comes as a surprise because everyone had thought he had bounced back. Double pneumonia he was suffering with for 38 days inside the Gemelli Hospital. He came out, was told to rest, was told to recuperate, to go back to Santa Marta, his special quarters there just next to the Vatican, and recuperate. He didn't do that. He's been far more active than his doctors wanted him to be. He's been out in the crowds. Look at these pictures just from the weekend, delighting thousands at St Peter's, out in his Pope mobile. He gave just a few words, just simple 4 words. I think, brothers and sisters, Happy Easter was all he could say. One of his spokesmen at the Vatican read aloud his speech. He made 2 very clear points, condemning anti-Semitism and also condemning the deplorable situation in Gaza. Still political, still active, right to the very end. He got a quick meeting in as well with J.D. Vance, the US Vice President. That was short, sharp and brief. There was a lot of speculation that he wouldn't see the US Vice President make some sort of political statement there. He did open the doors, a very brief meeting, and then gone. And now, hours later, 2.5 hours ago, the Pope passed away. An official statement has been given by the Vatican office. I've got it here. I'll read it out quickly. Dear brothers and sisters, with deep sorrow, I have to announce the death of our Holy Father, Francis. At 7:35 this morning, Italian time, the Bishop of Rome, Francis, returned to the house of God. His whole life was dedicated to the service of the Lord and his church. He taught us to live the values of the gospel with fidelity, courage and universal love, especially in favour of the poorest and most marginalised. With immense gratitude for his example as a true disciple of the Lord Jesus, we commend the soul of Pope Francis to the infinite merciful love of God.